And the story goes, a high school student with amnesia tries to uncover what has happened to her, all leading her into deeper troubles, ultimately revealing a darkness she could not have imagined. Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, your average viewer here. I recently watched a South Korean mystery action film called The Witch Part 1, The Subversion, which currently has 7.1 out of 10 stars on IMDb. This movie was directed by Hoon Jong-pak and premiered on June 27, 2018. This movie was nominated for a lot of awards and won a few, so I'm eager to share this with you. I'm going to let you know that I am not Korean, so if I'm butchering the names, I do apologize. Timestamps are down below. A mysterious laboratory has bodies littered everywhere and people bleeding. Dr. Bae picks up a teddy bear with Taeyoon on it in her picture and reminds the men that they need to shoot the children in the head. Mr. Choi leads a search party looking for the missing children. He manages to locate one of the children and brings him to Dr. Bae, but he isn't the target. They're looking for the witch. Dr. Bae tells Mr. Choi to report that they caught the witch, but Dr. Bae doubts she'll survive on her own and considers her dead. The girl makes her way to a farm where she is discovered unconscious by its owner, Mr. Gu. The doctor tells them that she lost her memories, but otherwise she should heal fine. 10 years later, the young girl, now named Taeyoon, is trying to get more feed for the family. The shop owner is resisting because her family owes too much money, but his son can't help helping her. He's mesmerized. Cattle farming is becoming too expensive for her family to sustainably live. Her mother is showing early signs of dementia, and Taeyoon herself is suffering from periodic bouts of intense migraines. As she's having these migraines, she's remembering her past and what happened that night in bits and pieces. Moon-ki, Taeyoon's best friend, suggests that Taeyoon join a singing competition in order to win some money for her family. Taeyoon is incredibly smart and she can sing well. She manages to go to the second round by showing the judges that she can levitate the microphone. Her parents are upset with her for doing that on television, but she proclaims she's trying to raise money. On her way to Seoul for the second round of the audition, Taeyoon is approached on the train by a young man named Nobleman. Nobleman claims to know Taeyoon and is surprised to learn that she does not recognize him. He refers to her as Miss Witch, and Moon-ki is surprised because it is Taeyoon's nickname. At first, Moon-ki believes it's a fan from the show, but as Nobleman gets creepier, she begins getting defensive. Nobleman pretends he's going to slap Taeyoon extremely hard, and she doesn't flinch but begins crying instead. Partially believing that Taeyoon actually doesn't remember him, Nobleman decides to leave. Nobleman kills a man on the train for bumping into him and throws his body off the train with superhuman strength. When the wind blows, we see a scar on Nobleman's head, which means he's the little boy Mr. Choi caught earlier. While Taeyoon is participating in the second round of auditions, Mr. Choi and Dr. Bae are watching and now know that the witch has survived. Dr. Bae looks at Taeyoon proudly, while Mr. Choi looks at her more in disgust. Taeyoon has an intense headache, which leads to flashbacks of her visiting a doctor's office. He tells her that she's running out of time and it's a life or death situation. She's going to need to find her birth parents and get a bone marrow transfusion. After the audition, Mr. Choi tries to convince Taeyoon to let him give her a ride home, but she is hesitant. Moon-ki is able to flag down a taxi, getting them away from Mr. Choi. While waiting for a bus, Taeyoon runs into Nobleman, who makes vague threats regarding her parents. Taeyoon runs to her parents' house while Moon-ki calls her dad to go to their house and make sure her parents are safe. Officer Do pulls up and checks out the house. Nobleman and his crew notice that Taeyoon picked a great family to blend in with. Once they pull up to Mr. Gu's house, they are deterred by Officer Do. We get a brief scene of the nobleman and his crew of genetically modified friends. It seems that they are all enjoying killing and torturing people. Nobleman has the ability to levitate items, and we see this by him forcing one of the henchmen to shoot himself. The man they kill is a national gene researcher, so I'm assuming he participated in creating them and they're getting their revenge. Dr. Bae tells Mr. Choi to stop hunting for Taeyoon and offers him a better job with her company. He decides to still kill Taeyoon and wants to make sure he gets her head for research. One of the companymen that he meets with asks about his hand. This is the first time we're shown his damaged hand that he keeps covered with a glove. The man promises that once they get Taeyoon, they'll fix Mr. Choi. Later that night, Taeyoon's mom begins asking where Taeyoon is, even though she's sitting right there in front of her. As Mr. Gu escorts her to their room, she remarks that Taeyoon is gathering information about orphanages, and she believes Taeyoon is looking for her biological parents. At the same time, we flash back to a younger Taeyoon on a computer, researching many different topics. As Taeyoon is sleeping, she has a nightmare from her youth and the massacre. She is having a major headache, which awakens Moon-hee, so she goes to the restroom. Taeyoon hears men in the house and goes to protect her parents when one of the men holds a gun to her head. The leader dares Taeyoon to prove to him that she's not the girl he's looking for. She goes into a trance state and is able to quickly kill everybody efficiently. Moon-hee is scared of Taeyoon now. The nobleman comes in and tells Taeyoon that if she comes with them, they won't kill her parents. They promise to help her with her headaches and explain what's happening to her. To convince Moon-hee that Taeyoon is weird, nobleman explains how Taeyoon is good at everything she does, acting, singing, even school, but acts normal so people don't get suspicious. He still doesn't believe Taeyoon when she says she doesn't remember what happened and reveals his motivation, seeing as Taeyoon attacked him and left a scar. Mr. Choi calls the lead henchman at Taeyoon's place and doesn't get a response, so he springs into action. On the way, the nobleman praises Taeyoon for choosing the perfect family that wouldn't abandon her. Mr. Gu and his wife had lost their son before that, so they were vulnerable. The nobleman takes Taeyoon to Dr. Bae's lab, where she is immediately restrained. Dr. Bae explains that she created Taeyoon, genetically modifying her to have her powers. She reveals that Taeyoon's headaches are a symptom of a disease that will eventually kill her without the proper treatment. She has Taeyoon injected with a blue serum that will stop the disease for a month, leaving Taeyoon dependent on new doses and stopping her from escaping again. After the injection, Taeyoon's demeanor changes and she reveals the truth. She never lost her memory and has always known who and what she is. After heading to a doctor by herself and being told that without a bone marrow transplant that by a blood relative, she only has a few months left to live, she decided to track down Dr. Bae to look for the cure. With no way to know who and what she was actually looking for, she purposefully revealed her abilities during the audition to draw the attention of those who created her. Nobleman and his friends are watching in another room as he realizes that Taeyoon truly was faking it. They make their way to the main lab just as Mr. Choi and his men have broken into the lab. Some of Nobleman's crew fights with the men while Mr. Choi follows after Nobleman. With the serum restoring her to full power, Taeyoon easily escapes her bonds and kills her guards. Holding Dr. Bae at a gunpoint, she demands to know the location where the serum is produced. As she's dragging Dr. Bae's body around to locate the serum, Nobleman interrupts and challenges Taeyoon to a fight. Insert a very, very cool fight scene between all of them. Nobleman, Mr. Choi, his little friend, and Taeyoon, that I will not recap for you because you just gotta see it. Taeyoon obviously wins, by the way. I kind of feel like she's playing with Nobleman because violence is in their nature during this whole fight, similar to how a cat will play with a roach and accidentally kill it. I want you to watch it, okay? Everyone dies from this fight except Taeyoon. Gathering the remaining serum left in the laboratory, she heads to the hospital to see her parents. She gives her father some of the serum to help her mother and slow the spread of her dementia. Her father alludes to having always known what Taeyoon could do and wishes her luck in whatever she needs to do next. 3 months later, Taeyoon appears in the home of Dr. Bae's twin sister, who is reviewing documents related to the children developed in the lab. She gives Taeyoon further vials of the serum. A mysterious young woman whose face is covered in scars approaches Taeyoon. Taeyoon threatens to kill her if she touches her before the screen goes black. The end. Okay, so here are some notes I had while watching this movie. Number 1, I suspect that Mr. Choi is the first generation of experiments. I know Dr. Bae spoke earlier about Taeyoon being the better modified child, so I feel like he is their first experiment. Instead of modifying his genes by superhuman power, I feel like it just permanently left him with the hand situation he's got going on. Number 2, The actress who plays Taeyoon did a great job convincing me that she didn't know she was the witch. I mean, the sinister look in her eyes when she stopped pretending was amazing. She's a great actress, and even the fight scene was super well done. I mean, she had me hooked for real. Number 3. If you put the English subtitles on this, it only captions the Korean and not the English too. I don't know, that was kind of weird to me. Like, when they were speaking in Korean, it would show the translated version of it, but when they spoke in English, it didn't show a caption at all. I don't know. I don't know why. It just was weird to me. Number 4. As evidenced by the incredibly long title, this is supposed to have a second part to it, and I'm anxious to see it. I'm excited. So, by those points, I think you can kind of guess what I rated this movie. I give this movie 4 out of 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I mean, from beginning to end, it kept me watching. I always suspected she definitely had the powers, but I didn't expect that she didn't lose her memory. You know, like, I knew that she still had the powers, but I did not think that she was faking losing her memory. I wish Nobleman would have realized he's no match for the witch and tried to join her instead. Like I said earlier, it didn't seem like she wanted to kill him unless he was in her way. Even at the end, it didn't seem like she was really trying to kill him. It's just that he kept trying to kill her, so she just was finally like, okay, here you go. At the end of the day, Taeyoon's goal is to live a normal life. Her headaches were being caused by her not participating in the violence, because it's going against their nature. Their nature is to be very violent. So with her trying to be normal, that is what was causing her headaches the most. So it doesn't seem like she was trying to kill anybody. One question I have for you. Should American movies learn a thing or two from South Korean action scenes? Use the poll to vote and tell me what you choose and why down below. Thanks for listening to me drawl on about this cool movie. I'll try that again. Thanks for listening to me drawl on about this cool movie, and I hope that you press the like button to let me know I'm doing awesome. I post a review once a week, typically Wednesday mornings. So see you next time.